Welcome to Shop Talks, which is a production of the In Kitchen, which is an online resource for you for free, inkitchen.com. Check out our YouTube channel, In Kitchen YouTube channel. This and all the talks we've had in the last 4 years are all up there. A lot of good, accurate information by industry experts, just like the folks I have here. And it's all brought to you free because of the sponsors: Los Angeles Apparel, Hirsch, Fairweather Johnson, AlphaBroder, Reese, and some company called Stahls and Transfer Express. So today we are going to talk about transfers, what's going on, what's going to happen in the future. I have some experts here. One reason I do these shop talks is it can be really confusing here, who to trust and who not to, and we try to only have on the stage people that know what they're talking about and that have products that work, and that's why Rich Jacobs from SanMar is here, Jody from Howard Transfers, and Josh Ellsworth from Stahl's Transfer Express are here. So we're going to talk a little bit about transfers. I'll start with Rich. I kind of got him up here under duress, but I wanted him to just talk about the fact that your products actually test for ability to be transferred, right?
Yes, new products every year. We come out with new material, so we send it out to make sure what kind of heat it can handle for dye migration, sheen on heat pressing, and things like that. On our website, COVID helped this project, so every style has a deco spec sheet. So every style, it'll show what kind of decoration techniques. Now, we don't put temperatures on it because different things go with different temperatures, but we do try and, say low cure inks or a dye blocker or things like that. But we do have our decorator relations team. We do have, if you go to decoratorrelations.com, you can send them an email and you can tell them, hey, I'm going to try this new style. What do you suggest? And if they don't have the answer, they'll send it to one of our group. We'll give you a call and help you walk through it. And if we don't have the answer, we have a lot of contacts that can help you out.
So you've only been doing this decorator help for like a few months, right?
The team started 14 years ago. I've been doing it 10 plus years.
No, and they deserve kudos for that, so that's why I had them up here. So they're your friends, so check it out. All right, so who wants to show what's going on with transfers? What's happening? It seems to be blowing up. Yeah, it's like unprecedented. It seems to me.
Yeah, I'm happy to say we've been at this party for a long time, Jody and I, and it's good to have everybody else join the party, that heat transfers are the real thing, and we're starting to see direct-to-film be a catalyst to the growth, so there's a lot more awareness for the potential and the power of transfers from people who would never look at them before because of the advent of direct-to-film. So we're getting more attention to the whole category, and it's bigger than direct-to-film. That's certainly an important part, but certainly they're solving a lot of challenges for a lot of shops and creating a lot of revenue opportunities as we sit here today.
All right. You have a new CEO, yeah?
We do have a new CEO. Not new to the company. Last name's still Howard, just a different one.
He seems to have a lot of energy, so that seems like it'll be a good thing for the company.
He does. Obviously, when your last name's Howard, same name as the company, you have a lot of passion for what you do.
You might have to be responsible, too. You got your name as your company.
Responsible but fun.
Yeah, there we go. So what's going on with you guys, and how's business and what's going on out there?
I'll echo what Josh said. Obviously, you look around today and you see, a million DTF signs, transfers in the crowd, but we really want to drive home, that the transfer industry is more than DTF. It's great that it did bring in some awareness to transfers, but screen printed transfers, it's what we've been doing. It's where we started. Digital certainly has a space, right? But screen printed transfers also solve some really great problems. They have a really great touch, feel. People come to our booth and they feel some of those screen printed options and they're amazed because they've, if their entry was the digital space, they feel that, and then they feel the screen printed options and they're like, holy cow, that's really impressive. Didn't know you could get that out of a transfer.
So when I have a customer that doesn't like the word transfers, and I know it, then I call it indirect print. You sell indirect prints that are really good.
Yeah, we've had that conversation. I've had that conversation with a lot of screen printers who have entered that transfer space recently, COVID 2020, and they started out distinguishing, okay, this is a transfer, this is a screen print, direct screen print. And then they kind of just said, I don't really need to do that anymore. My customer really doesn't care. They thought that they would. My customer doesn't care. It's just a print.
Yep, just a print. I saw it online, I got it at my house in a bag, and I'm really happy that I got what I saw, right? So you guys are a solution for that. An increasingly great solution for it, I have to say. The other thing is, I know I used to like encourage people, that were starting out with a hand press or something. Now I tell them to start with transfers. I mean, you gotta have customers. You can, especially if you use transfers that look like screen printing, why screen print to start with, with all the setup required? I mean, I don't know what a heat press costs, but it's not that much for a good heat press, right?
It isn't, and it's a gift and a curse, because I think what a lot of decorators think is that because heat transfer is so easy to access and get into, that you shouldn't take it seriously. And so we've really been trying to advocate for heat transfer or heat printing as a department in a shop that gets equal and adequate attention and management and processes, just like the screen printing department, just like the embroidery department. You need to have that same structure around your heat press and take your investment in it seriously, and really take your processes and what you do in the shop efficiently when it comes to heat press. Because otherwise, we kind of limp into it, we don't put real strategy around it, and we end up with it not being as successful as we had hoped. But it's certainly a capable technology, but you just have to take it seriously, invest right, and then put the work in, just like you would any other department.
It was really interesting. We had a guy, we had Jenna from your company here yesterday, and a guy who has a hat company, and it's really based around the heat press. He's making all kinds of patches, and it's not a miracle. Like, you still have to be creative and you have to design these things, but then the tools are here now to get things done that you never could before, and in increasingly small quantities actually as well, right?
Yeah, small quantities and small footprint. So that's one of the keys. Like, look, I think everybody realized when COVID hit that maybe we have a little bit too much overhead in our business, or maybe you're still chasing that overhead by reducing your prices to try to keep some piece of equipment running in your shop. The beautiful thing about a heat press is you can get into it for low money. It takes relatively little space in a shop, and so it's extremely scalable with how you can build out within a space, or how you can take it on site to a space for live activation printing. So there's a ton of opportunity in a really lean model that can drive really profitable products.
Do you have customers now that are just heat press?
I've had a lot that added it.
Oh, that too, yeah.
Yeah,
Actually.
and they do have an area just blocked off for heat press, because it's just an area where you want to focus on the scheduling and making sure you have the right transfers. I mean, they have shelves dedicated to certain programs so that it's an easy grab. You get the product, boom, you heat press it.
Yeah,
So you're talking limited time.
Yeah, we use it actually in our online stores. So, for the we buy transfers, I forget, maybe from both of you, and we DTG the fronts, but the sleeves are hard to DTG. So we have transfers and we slap them on. And I think in a smaller application, it's really, you can't tell that it's not screen printed or a DTG.
I think that's an interesting question. Do you have customers that are just transfer work? And we've been spending a lot of time with screen printers as of late, and just really getting into their shops and learning what they do in their processes and how transfers can work with their businesses. And listening to their curiosities has been so interesting to me, and I don't think that they really realize that there are so many businesses that are just transfers that are very successful at that model.
Yep.
So yes, tons of them.
All right, how about some show and tell here? You want to show what you guys are up to?
Probably more show and tell than we need, but I'll start with some of the dimensional looks and some of the exciting things. So when you look at like what's happening out there in heat transfer. It's all about elevating the value of a piece. And so we're seeing a lot more branded pieces being decorated, and we're starting to see a lot more elevated logos. It's either super soft and super thin or super thick, and it's on both extremes, and nobody seems to want anything in the just right in the middle, so you go one way or another. So we're excited, of course, to offer a lot of dimensional emblems and patches. And so with the availability of bottom heat now across heat presses in the industry, being able to heat press from the top and bottom, basically create a heat sandwich to reach the adhesive of patch products, is now creating durable patches that don't require embroidery equipment to sew on into finish. And so that's opening up lots of opportunity and lots of capacity to be able to decorate. So that's been super exciting.
No one ever wanted to sew them on anyway. It's not.
Some people still think they need to sew it on.
It's not. It's. I don't know. It's sometimes it's dangerous the way people do it, honestly, and it's time consuming, and there's a lot of errors. Even people I know that bring it on, they have a lot of waste. It's not a great process.
So that's definitely new, and we're seeing that product not only across the headwear category. We're seeing people take those products with those same machines in the categories of outerwear, for sure, and also in the categories of bags. And so there are these, I like to say, focus on a couple key metrics. One of those is your average order value, and one way to build higher average order values is not only to offer elevated products, but better product assortment. How many people are going to check out with 3 hats in their cart? Probably not many, but they may check out with a hat, a jacket, and a backpack, all with the same logo. So think about that.
All right. Yeah, let's mix it up here. What you got going here? My lovely assistant, Rich, will help you there. Vanna Rich.
Well, here, I'll start with this one because he was kind of alluding to, we either go with a 3D effect or we go with something very thin. So this is kind of touching on that. Like that no-hand feel is what we're after. This is our vintage wash that really touches on that no-hand feel. You can barely feel it on the garment. Super popular in our booth.
This is why we have show and tell.
Yep.
You can't tell it soft in a video.
And then another thing that we see trending recently is just combining products for something mixed media, very custom for your customer, something that, they feel. So this combines, a matte ink, a shimmer ink, and a glow-in-the-dark ink, which, unless you sit there and hover, you're not going to be able to see it in this bright light, but trust me, it's glow.
So that one was regular ink and glow-in-the-dark ink, you said?
And shimmer, yeah.
And shimmer, okay. One great thing about transfers is some of the things that you really don't want to print, you can transfer, puff and glitters, things like that. And reflective really only works like to a safety standard with a transfer.
Yeah, you don't want to print it, but we will.
Yeah. So you can do a lot of looks, a lot of different styles, and it's not only print finishes, but it's print locations. So we talked a little about products, we talked a little bit about finishes. What I love about the transfers that are going around is everything in one single application, right? Not having to layer, not having to put so much detail into the mixed media. It coming built into the transfer is a pretty big deal. And then also making sure that you can hit all the print locations on a product. So this particular sample is definitely a few things we wouldn't want to print. It's a high-end performance wear fabric, a sport tech garment from SanMar, very prone to scorching. It's also a location that's difficult down on the cuff of the garment, and it's also something that has high stretch and a gradient in the logo with super fine detail, including a registered trademark. So
no other problems? That sounds like
just
a
few
walk
problems.
in the park.
It's no problem for heat transfers, and that's the point, right? And so as long as you have the right transfer that applies at a low temperature and the right attachments or pillows or accessories to be able to decorate, you can do stuff like that very easily. And the great thing about that sample is there's probably about 45 cents in transfer cost on that whole garment. And so you talk about profit margin. Yes, there's probably 2 minutes to be able to decorate those 2 locations, but there's a ton of margin in decorating high-end pieces with small logos. That particular one's a direct-to-film transfer.
Wow.
We'll
That's
do
what I
better.
said. All right, what else you got here, sister?
Yeah, same concept, I guess, increasing your profit margin. We were going to go promo here. Easy entrance into the promo industry here with direct-to-film or digital. They're typically more difficult substrates to apply to, but
Oh,
with
really?
your-
Everybody likes printing foam hats and burlap bags.
Yep. Low temperature applications can be a cold peel sometimes, which not everyone loves, but gets the job done, right? So you get your, here, you can take those. It's my phone holder right now, but your can cooler as well. And then one thing I was just going to show that we try to talk about all the time is with digital direct to film, always remembering what you're designing. So I have 2 examples here of the same design that you always want to try to, and we'll pass this around so you can feel these 2. So same design, but this one has obviously more ink on it. It's going to feel a little bit tougher. This one's going to show through more of the shirt color. So you're going to, this one's more favorable, right? So always remember that when you're designing. If your customer sends you art that you can't change it. But the more shirt you can show through, the better. And then play around with that repress with some cover sheets. We've talked about that before. But linen, another t-shirt, that bag that we passed around before, something with some really grainy texture that's going to soften up the feel of that press.
So go over that again. So what are some of the techniques to change the feel of the transfers?
Yeah, so after your first press, especially if you're using a cold peel, a hot peel will be a little bit more favorable. But if you're using a cold peel, that the texture on the shirt, on your garment's not gonna feel great, right? Especially if you're not showing much shirt coming through. You have a lot of ink on that garment. A repress, we're gonna definitely suggest a repress. You can use a cover sheet and you can get creative with it. So if you're not gonna be creative, use silicone paper, parchment paper, butcher paper, whatever it is. If you wanna get creative and add some texture into that, you can use a t-shirt that you have laying around. You can use, go to the fabric store, get some linen, heavy linen, something like that bag that's going around right now. That'll add a little bit of more texture into what is really kind of a flat surface to make it feel like it's part of the garment.
What we found, if you use the same fabric in certain things, it's almost like it goes in properly and it really integrates it, and
Yeah.
you get better washability, I think, too, because it presses it in. So
Yeah.
if you use the same fabric that you've pressed on, also is a good thing. All right, what else you got over there, man?
I got all kinds of stuff. I'm not sure how deep we want to go on the samples, but I'll just hit some here. Like this is one we just did. So a lady basically said, I'll buy a heat press package if you show me how to press these drawstrings. So I literally grabbed our nicely merchandised sample off the rack, found a style with flat drawstrings, and pressed a direct-to-film transfer for it. So similar to the shoe example that we pressed for you many shows ago, probably about a year ago now. But just thinking beyond your standard placement, sometimes with the markets that are available to us, is thinking about these branding details that may only cost 10 cents an extra transfers, but elevate the piece another $10 is a great way to pack more profit out of it. And then, heat transfer vinyl as a category is something that we're seeing still be popular, especially for special effects. Now, admittedly, direct-to-film is a better solution for multicolor base finishes now, but with the special effects from Puff here and then the back one that we're going to see, is a reflective glitter, and so you hit that with a camera flash, it lights up, and you got some rainbows and different patterns in it. Also, twill textures that are chrome, and dimensional products that are foam-like. So sometimes you need instant personalization, and having a vinyl cutter and heat transfer film still have a viable place in every shop. And actually, we see out of our customer base, it's outside of screen printed transfers, it's the most adopted technology still from our customer surveys is heat transfer vinyl.
Interesting. Okay. What else you got there, Jody?
Yeah, this last one is just a direct-to-film that kind of demonstrates like a faux stitch, so something that you can achieve, special effect. Not necessarily full color, but just a special effect with that direct-to-film.
All right, you got anything else over there?
I think
brother?
we're good.
All right. So what are we going to see in the future without giving away secrets? Where are things headed, do you think?
So the future is what I am super excited about. The right now is like relevant and enough to buy in and get going, but where I see the future of heat transfers is just more integrated across the whole value chain, from order acquisition all the way to fulfillment, and being able to simplify that process. So you mentioned print on demand and e-commerce stores, and so we've been playing around with the term, instead of print on demand, which is typically sublimation or direct to garment, how about heat print on demand, right? And so we're thinking about heat print on demand, and basically that means, yes, I can put transfers on shelf, and that inventory can deplete as I decorate. Those were the examples we said. But I can also take all of my orders aggregated across all of my e-commerce channels. I can put them together, and I can automatically submit them to have all of my daily transfers made together. And so we're seeing a lot of automation through how people transact business. So they're not having to go to websites and individually upload one logo, right? We've lost all the profit on print on demand if we're having to upload one logo, manually order one logo, et cetera. So connecting across e-commerce platforms is really where we're headed.
I think in general, the whole decoration industry, it's now going to be about information. It's like, what is it? What does it go on, and where does it go when it's done? And it used to be, how do you get it decorated? Now that's almost like you guys are speeding it up to the point where the information is the bottleneck now.
It is, because everybody is driven, how quick can I get it? And so we've tried to push our cutoff time. Sometimes it's challenging. There's seasonality to it, adding capacity, so it gets a challenge. But like the best example is the direct-to-film transfers. Like you order by midnight, it's shipping the next business day. And so trying to add direct-to-film manufacturing pods throughout the country so it can also deliver quick. Speed is important, especially when you're filling online stores and growing your business that way.
And the inevitable emergencies of every day.
Emergencies, quick samples, yeah, there's 100 reasons why everybody wants it cheaper, faster, better quality, right? Everybody wants those things. So we're going to try to check off at least the quality and the speed thing. You're going to have to pay for that, but trust me, there's plenty of profit for everybody in the equation.
So where do you guys think things are going?
Well, I think it'll be really interesting with things like AI, art, graphics. Don't know how that will specifically integrate with people's businesses, especially with some hesitancy there, but I think that'll be a huge part of the next 5 years of this industry specifically. Not just in art, right, but maybe in order processing, maybe more so on our end, but I think it'll trickle into the customer end as well. And then I think, the direct-to-film space has changed so dramatically just in the last 2 years. That's going to continue to evolve, and we're going to see the films change. We're going to get new films. We're going to get new special effects there. So that's something to watch out for. I think some of those are already out now, but you'll see more of those coming out.
Rich, you've been in the industry long enough. You must have seen a lot of changes. I mean, I think years ago, transfers you might have seen on the boardwalk in Atlantic City, and that's about it. Did you ever dream that it would become to this, like this?
I'm glad it did. I want you guys to make profit, and I think, like Josh keeps selling it, when you can elevate it, you take a hat and you just do a one color print, you make X. But if you elevate it to puff or something like that, you're going to make an extra $5. So you gotta, hey, if they want that screen print, that's great. If it's for retail, you can help them make more profit. That's what everybody wants to make, is profit. So think about that when you're like trying to upsell. It's just like when I was in the service industry.
I think the other great thing about transfers is that, like, very predictable. If you have the right equipment that has air pressure indicators and accurate temperature, then you can dial in the triangle there that you talk about, right? The time, temperature, and pressure, and repeatability. So even on a very difficult substrate, you can apply a transfer every time perfectly.
Yeah, you know those big three, time, temperature, and pressure. You know it's going to stick and it's going to stay on the garment. Some of the areas we're trying to drive predictability are placement through heat press innovation. So you've seen the lasers for a long time. There's something coming around the corner in about 30 days that'll make placement quicker, faster, easier for your business. And then also color management. Like, we're making transfers in a lot of different factories. We want the color to match for businesses that are transacting across the globe, really, so that Tennessee orange is the same Tennessee orange for a fan in Tennessee versus a fan that's in, Canada or Europe or anywhere. And so being able to have that color management and making sure those looks match, like, that's where we're heading towards in this print-on-demand space.
I know, if we're going to match Jody's phone and jacket
I
to
said
that green.
she's on the Howard brand colors. So that's awesome.
Come on, get on my level.
How about we have anything else or some questions?
No, I'm just saying, we understand color management with apparel. So if we're off, it's not a good thing. So yeah, that's a big thing. Is it's not easy when you're making. I mean, we have facilities all across the globe. So we have a huge team that works in different countries to make sure that's happening every day.
All right, questions, folks out there about transfers?
Oh, no.
Fire some questions. It's not exciting unless there's questions.
All right, so I know transfers don't cost a whole lot, but we want to add more value, and I think the thing that really trips people up is they just want to add a percentage to the cost of the decoration instead of selling on the value that you can get for the item, and nobody really knows how to do that. And I think that's where people stub their toe all the time. So can you talk about how we need to be thinking about getting the value, like for the decoration with the hoodie pull, right? That's fantastic. How does somebody charge for that? Because you just want, it's 40 cents transfer. You don't want to mark it up, 50% or something, because great, we made 60 cents, big deal. But how do we get $10 out of that? How do we know to do that? I think that's where people really need the education.
I love this topic. I've spent a lot of my career managing sales, and I'll have decorators come up to me all the time, and they'll say, I can teach you how much it costs to make, but I cannot tell you what to sell it for. And the reason why is because I don't understand your customer, or shouldn't understand your customer as well as you. And so that's where your plan should start, is having a very clear understanding of the customers or customer segments that you're serving, and that is where pricing is driven from. I hate the Keystone method. I hate straight markup. I like business rules and guardrails that say I need to make a minimum of this. Those are great, but the right price to charge is as much as the customer is willing to pay. So I'm going to say that again. The right price to charge is as much as the customer is willing to pay. If you can't answer that question, I think you should dive in and figure out how you're creating value for your customer and make sure you're creating more of it so you can command those prices that you want. So it's just not a quick double it, right? Especially with the low cost of stuff, because you'll end up short on a t-shirt, for instance, or an application like on that drawstring, or you'll end up out of the market on like maybe a $60 wholesale jacket that you could sell easily and be very happy making, $40 in profit at a $100 price point, but thinking you need to price it at $120, doubling the cost, now I'm out of market. So really it's how much is your customer willing to pay? That should be the price that you set. Does that answer your question? Thank you.
Yeah, well, it's funny because we're contract decorators as well as having direct customers. And when promo companies we deal with want us to apply transfers for them, we say no. Because there's no money in that. You know what I mean? You can't charge them enough really for just applying the transfer.
Well, it sounds like you know your customer segments and which ones are most profitable. So that's also a great exercise. Look at your customer segmentation, figure out of your top 20 customers or 50 customers, which are the most profitable. And I'd go and try to develop more in those segments, making sure you stay diversified across several segments so you don't get hit and get shut down, if one segment nosedives.
He knocked it out of the park. He did. All right. Right, Marshall? He did knock it out of the park.
He threw me a softball. Thanks, Marshall.
Batting practice pitcher, Marshall Atkinson. All right, other questions? You got the experts here. It's your chance.
Challenges, problems, opportunities. Let's go. It's only what? It's like 4:20, 4:30
Yeah.
on a Friday. We're just getting going.
Actually, Josh's colleague was here yesterday, Dave Connor, and when we finally put it up, I would check out his talk, which was about common mistakes of applying transfers. That was very, very good. So if you do a lot of transfer work, I would check that one out later. And he's got videos on your site, I think, about that too, right?
Yeah, he's all over the Transfer Express YouTube channel.
Yeah, right. All right, any last words, my friends?
Thank you.
Not last words like I'm going to kill you or something. Just any final thoughts? How about that? All right, nothing? All right. Anyway, how about a hand for our presenters here? And I want to thank our sponsors one more time, or this wouldn't happen. Los Angeles Apparel, AlphaBroder, Reese, Hirsch, Fairweather Johnson, and what's that other company? Stalls, yeah. And anyway, thanks for coming. Check out our YouTube channel, In Kitchen, and thanks for coming. Check out the posters. Any donation, you can have a poster to bring home, and it's really cool. Thanks.